Listen carefully, for this is not about money, it is about the unseen weight that money carries. You look at a millionaire and imagine abundance overflowing from every pocket. You think their wallet must be heavy, bursting with notes, cards, and symbols of success. But the truth is quieter, more subtle, almost invisible. A millionaire's wallet is not defined by what it holds, but by what it refuses to carry. There are 3 things you will never find inside it. First, you will not find desperation. Desperation is heavy. It clouds judgment, rushes decisions, and turns opportunities into traps. The one who is desperate clings, chases, begs for outcomes. But the one who has understood the flow of life knows that chasing is not the path. They act, but they do not cling. They move, but they are not pulled by fear. A millionaire does not carry desperation in their wallet because they do not carry it in their mind. They know that wealth grows in calm soil, not in the storm of panic. When you remove desperation, you begin to see clearly. And when you see clearly, you choose wisely. Second, you will not find unnecessary attachments. Look at most wallets filled with old receipts, expired cards, things kept just in case. This is how many people live their lives, holding on to what no longer serves them. Old habits, old fears, old identities. They weigh down the mind just as clutter weighs down the wallet. The one who prospers learns to let go. They keep only what is useful, what is aligned with their direction. They do not carry emotional clutter. They do not keep reminders of past failures as burdens. Instead, they travel light, and because they are light, they move faster, think clearer, and act with precision. To let go is not to lose. It is to make space. And in that space, new opportunities enter quietly. Third, you will not find the need for approval. Many people carry invisible cards in their wallet, cards labeled "What will others think?" or "Am I good enough?" These are more limiting than any lack of money. They bind action, silence ideas, and keep potential locked away. But the one who builds wealth does not seek approval before taking a step. They listen within. They trust their path. They understand that approval is a moving shadow. It changes with every person, every moment. So they stop chasing it. When you no longer need approval, your decisions become clean. Your actions become bold. Your path becomes your own. And this is where true wealth begins, not in coins or notes, but in clarity. So if you wish to understand the secret, do not look at what fills the wallet. Look at what has been removed from it. Remove desperation and you gain calm power. Remove attachment and you gain freedom. Remove the need for approval and you gain direction. And slowly, without noise, without force, your life begins to change. Desperation blocks wealth. True success comes from calm, clear thinking, not from fear or urgency. Letting go of desperation allows better decisions and attracts opportunities. Desperation is a silent force that shapes decisions in ways most people never notice. It does not announce itself loudly. Instead, it whispers urgency into the mind, creating the illusion that everything must happen now or everything will be lost. When a person operates from this state, their actions are no longer guided by clarity but by fear. They begin to chase rather than attract, to react rather than respond. And in this restless movement, they often move further away from what they truly seek. When the mind is desperate, it loses its ability to see things as they are. Opportunities appear either too risky or too urgent. Small setbacks feel like permanent failures, and simple decisions become heavy with pressure. A desperate person may accept poor deals, trust the wrong people, or abandon long-term vision for short-term relief. It is not a lack of intelligence that leads them astray, but the clouded perception that desperation creates. In this state, even abundance can be mishandled because the mind is not prepared to hold it. In contrast, the one who has learned to release desperation moves differently. There is a quiet steadiness in their actions. They understand that not every opportunity is meant to be taken and not every moment requires immediate reaction. They allow space between thought and action, and in that space, wisdom arises. This calm presence is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. It allows them to observe without being consumed, to choose without being rushed, and to act without fear of loss. This does not mean they lack ambition or desire. Rather, their ambition is rooted in clarity, not in panic. They work diligently, but they do not cling to outcomes. They prepare, but they do not force results. They understand that forcing often creates resistance, while patience allows things to unfold naturally. In this way, their efforts become more effective because they are aligned with awareness instead of fear. To let go of desperation is not to become passive. It is to become precise. It is to act when the moment is right, not when the mind is restless. It is to trust that what is meant to come will not be lost by a moment of stillness. This trust creates a foundation of inner stability, and from that stability, better decisions emerge. When you begin to release desperation, you may notice an unfamiliar silence within. At first, it can feel uncomfortable because the mind is used to constant urgency. But if you remain with it, that silence transforms into clarity. You begin to see paths that were previously hidden. You recognize which opportunities align with your direction and which are distractions. You stop chasing everything and instead you start choosing wisely. And this is where a subtle shift occurs. Life no longer feels like a race you are losing, but a path you are walking with awareness. Because you understand that not all possibilities are meant for you. Because you understand that not all possibilities are meant for you. In this understanding, there is peace, and within that peace, there is power. Over time, this way of being changes not only your decisions, but also your results. You build not from urgency, but from intention. It tends to last. Because it is not driven by fear, it is sustained by clarity. So the absence of desperation is not an empty space, it is a powerful presence. It is the foundation upon which wise action, meaningful growth, and lasting success are quietly formed. Let go of unnecessary attachments. Holding on to old habits, failures, and emotional clutter slows growth. Wealthy minds stay light by keeping only what truly matters. Unnecessary attachments often disguise themselves as security. People hold on to things, beliefs, and memories thinking they are protecting themselves, when in reality, they are creating invisible weight that slows every step forward. Just as a wallet filled with old receipts and expired cards becomes heavy and disorganized, a mind filled with outdated attachments becomes cluttered and unclear. This clutter does not always appear harmful at first, but over time it quietly limits growth. Many individuals carry attachments to past failures, replaying them as reminders of what went wrong. Others hold on to past successes, fearing they may never reach that height again. Some cling to relationships, habits, or identities that no longer serve their direction, simply because they feel familiar. But familiarity is not the same as alignment. What once supported you may now be holding you back, and yet letting go feels uncomfortable because it requires stepping into the unknown. The one who prospers learns to recognize this difference. They begin to understand that growth requires release. Just as a tree sheds its leaves to prepare for new seasons, a person must let go of what has completed its purpose. This is not an act of loss, but an act of wisdom. It creates space for new ideas, new opportunities, and new directions to enter. When you hold on to unnecessary attachments, your energy becomes divided. Part of you is trying to move forward, while another part is anchored in the past. This inner conflict weakens your focus and drains your momentum. You may find yourself hesitating, overthinking, or resisting change, not because you lack ability, but because you are carrying too much. The weight of what you refuse to release becomes heavier than the effort required to move ahead. Letting go, however, is often misunderstood. It does not mean forgetting your experiences or denying your past. It means no longer allowing those experiences to control your present. It means keeping the lesson but releasing the emotional burden. It means honoring what was while making room for what can be. A person who has mastered this begins to travel light. Their decisions become clearer because they are not influenced by outdated fears or attachments. They are able to adapt more quickly, seeing change not as a threat but as a natural part of growth. They do not resist when something no longer fits. They release it with awareness and move forward with intention. This lightness creates a powerful advantage. When you are not weighed down, you can respond to opportunities with clarity and confidence. You are not distracted by what you might lose, because you understand that holding on to the wrong things costs far more than letting them go. In this state, your focus sharpens, your actions become more deliberate, and your path becomes more aligned with your true direction. Over time, this practice of release transforms your entire way of living. You stop accumulating things, whether physical or emotional, without purpose. You become selective, intentional, and aware of what you allow into your life. And because you are no longer carrying excess weight, you move with greater ease and effectiveness. In this way, letting go is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is the clearing of space where something greater can emerge. And those who understand this do not fear release, they embrace it, knowing that every ending they accept creates the possibility for a new begin. No need for approval. Seeking validation from others limits action. Confidence and inner trust are essential for bold decisions and long-term success. The need for approval is one of the most subtle chains a person can carry because it often feels harmless. It appears as a simple desire to be accepted, to be understood, to be valued by others. Yet beneath this surface lies a quiet dependency that shapes choices, silences truth, and limits potential. When a person constantly looks outward for validation, they slowly lose connection with their own inner voice. Their decisions are no longer guided by clarity, but by the shifting opinions of those around them. This need begins early and grows quietly. A person learns to adjust their behavior to gain praise, to avoid criticism, to fit into expectations. Over time, this pattern becomes automatic. They begin to measure their worth through reactions. Approval becomes a reward, and disapproval feels like a loss. Without realizing it, they hand over control of their direction to external voices. And because those voices are many, inconsistent, and ever-changing, the path becomes uncertain and fragmented. When every step requires validation, hesitation becomes a constant companion. Ideas are delayed, actions are softened, and opportunities are missed. A person may know what they want to do, but the fear of judgment creates resistance. They begin to ask, what will others think, before asking, is this right for me? And in doing so, they trade authenticity for acceptance. This trade is costly because it limits growth and weakens confidence over time. The one who moves beyond this need begins with a simple realization: approval is not stable. What is praised today may be criticized tomorrow. What one person admires, another may reject. To build a life based on such shifting ground is to build without foundation. So they turn inward, not in isolation, but in awareness. They begin to listen to their own understanding, their own values, their own sense of direction. This shift does not happen instantly. At first, acting without approval may feel uncomfortable. There may be doubt, even fear, because the mind is used to seeking reassurance. But with each step taken independently, a new strength develops. Confidence begins to grow not from external praise, but from internal alignment. Decisions become clearer because they are no longer filtered through the expectations of others. This does not mean ignoring all feedback or rejecting the perspectives of others. Wisdom still listens, but it does not depend. It considers advice without becoming controlled by it. It remains open yet grounded. In this balance, a person can learn from others while still staying true to their own path. As the need for approval fades, a sense of freedom emerges. Actions become more direct, ideas more original, and choices more intentional. There is less fear in taking risks because the outcome is no longer tied to others' opinions. Success and failure are both accepted as part of growth, not as measures of worth. This allows a person to move forward with courage even in uncertainty. Over time, this independence transforms not only decisions but identity itself. A person no longer seeks to fit into every expectation. Instead, they create their own direction. They become consistent not because others demand it, but because they are aligned within. This alignment becomes a quiet source of strength, guiding them through challenges without the need for constant reassurance. In this way, releasing the need for approval is not an act of separation, it is an act of self-connection. It restores clarity, strengthens confidence, and allows a person to walk their path with purpose. And in that independence, there is a kind of wealth that cannot be given or taken away. Clarity over possession wealth is not about how much you carry, but how clearly you think. A focused mind creates better outcomes than a full wallet. Clarity is often misunderstood as something complex or distant, as if it belongs only to those who possess great knowledge or extraordinary intelligence. But in truth, clarity is simple. It is the ability to see without distortion, to understand without confusion, and to act without inner conflict. It is not created by adding more, but by removing what does not belong. And this is why it becomes more powerful than possession itself. Many people believe that having more money, more tools, more resources will automatically lead to better outcomes. Yet, without clarity, even abundance can become a burden. When the mind is cluttered with conflicting thoughts, fears, and distractions, it struggles to use what it already has. Decisions become scattered, focus weakens, and opportunities are overlooked. In this state, it does not matter how full the wallet is because the mind guiding it is uncertain. Clarity changes this completely. When the mind is clear, even limited resources can be used effectively. A clear mind knows where to focus, when to act, and when to wait. It does not waste energy on unnecessary choices or distractions. Instead, it directs attention with precision, turning small efforts into meaningful results. This is why clarity often creates more value than possession alone. To develop clarity, one must begin by observing the noise within. Much of the confusion people experience comes not from the outside world, but from the constant stream of thoughts within their own mind. Worries about the future, regrets about the past, and endless comparisons with others create a fog that distorts perception. When this fog is present, even simple decisions feel overwhelming. The process of clearing this fog does not require force, it requires awareness. By stepping back and observing thoughts without immediately reacting to them, a space begins to form. In that space, unnecessary concerns lose their power. What once seemed urgent begins to appear less important. Slowly, the mind becomes quieter, and in that quietness, clarity emerges. This clarity brings a new way of approaching life. Instead of reacting to everything, a person begins to respond with intention. They recognize what truly matters and what can be ignored. They no longer chase every opportunity, but choose the ones that align with their direction. This selectiveness is not limitation, it is strength. It allows energy to be focused where it has the greatest impact. As clarity deepens, confidence follows naturally. Not the loud confidence that seeks attention, but a steady confidence that comes from understanding. Decisions feel lighter, actions more natural, and results more consistent. There is less doubt because there is less confusion. In this way, clarity becomes a quiet form of wealth. It does not occupy space like material possessions, yet it influences everything. It guides actions, sharpens focus, and strengthens direction. And unlike external wealth, it cannot be lost once it is truly developed. So while many seek to fill their lives with more, the wiser path is often to simplify, to remove what clouds the mind, to focus on what truly matters, and to act with awareness. Because in the end, it is not what you have that determines your path, but how clearly you are able to see it. Remove to grow success is not just about adding more, it's about removing negative patterns like fear, clutter, and self-doubt to create space for growth. Because wealth is not something you carry, it is something you become. Most people believe growth comes from adding more skills, more possessions, more connections, more effort. And while there is truth in this, it is only part of the picture. What is often overlooked is that true transformation begins not with addition but with removal. Before something new can fully enter your life, space must be created for it. Without that space, even the greatest opportunities struggle to take root. Consider how a cluttered room feels. Even if valuable items are present, the disorder makes it difficult to use them effectively. The same principle applies to the mind and to life itself. When it is filled with fear, doubt, distractions, and outdated beliefs, there is little room left for clarity, focus, and growth. Adding more into this state only increases the burden. It does not solve the problem, it deepens it. This is why the act of removal is so powerful. When you begin to let go of what no longer serves you, you are not losing, you are refining. You are choosing to keep only what aligns with your direction and releasing what interferes with it. This requires honesty because it asks you to look closely at your patterns and question what you have been holding on to. Fear is often the first thing that must be removed. It creates hesitation and prevents action. It magnifies risks while hiding possibilities. When fear dominates, even small steps feel overwhelming. But when you begin to face it and gradually release its hold, you discover that many of the limits you believed in were not real, they were created by the mind. Next comes doubt, which quietly weakens confidence. Doubt questions your ability, your worth, and your direction. It makes you second-guess decisions and delay progress. Removing doubt does not mean becoming blindly certain, it means trusting yourself enough to move forward despite uncertainty. It is this trust that builds momentum and allows growth to continue. Then there are distractions, the constant pulls on your attention that scatter your energy. These may come in the form of unnecessary commitments, endless comparisons, or habits that consume time without adding value. When distractions are removed, focus returns. And with focus, even simple efforts become powerful. As these layers are gradually cleared, something important begins to happen. You start to feel lighter, not just mentally, but in the way you approach life. Decisions become easier because fewer things are competing for your attention. Actions become stronger because they are not diluted by hesitation or confusion. Progress becomes steady because it is no longer interrupted by unnecessary weight. This process is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice. Life will always present new challenges, new attachments, and new distractions. The key is to remain aware and willing to release again and again. Each time you do, you create more space, not emptiness, but potential. And within that space, growth unfolds naturally. Not forced, not rushed, but steady and aligned. You begin to see that success is not built by carrying everything, but by carrying only what matters. By removing what weakens you, you allow your true strength to emerge. And that is where real growth begins.